Good afternoon and welcome to Bull Market Stock Show. This is your host Rian Hobson, and we're doing actually today, obviously we all know, the load shedding that is actually hitting South Africa again. Some parts of South Africa had it for more than 10 hours. Like some areas have it for 8 hours. I was speaking to someone earlier. He got it actually for about 10 hours or even more. And this is actually getting a bit bad. And obviously I did some scratching and did some research to check, is it again a terrible story of wet coal or whatever nonsense Eskom always have about? But this time it's a bit different. And I had a podcast about this actually earlier, I think in September, where I did said that there were people from rich nations that come to visit South Africa to get us off coal. And if you look at the president's letter, what he just published for today, his weekly letter that he put out, he put a story about the green energy. So it is all to do about the green energy and nothing to do with wet coal. This will be a recipe for disaster. And for a lot of people, they have to adapt or die. For those people who actually bought trucks to transport coal and those type of things, or areas that are actually literally dependent on coal, you can literally say you are done and dusted, because it looks like we will get forced literally to adapt to the new energy, the new green energy story after the break.
Keep your finger on the market pulse with the News Alerts tool. Stay up to date on the latest sentiment across all the major asset classes. Uncover bullish or bearish signals tied to specific assets that could be developing before major price moves, and track how news sentiment correlated with price in the past. Track the news volume on an asset, its fear index, and get a better feel for its underlying strength. All with News Alerts, your central hub for market information. That's higher trading from MarketsX.
Good afternoon and welcome back to Bull Market Stock Show. This is your host Rian Hobson, and thanks a lot for tuning in. Please do subscribe for our YouTube page, and also do actually click on the register link for markets.com and register your account with $250 and get your classes absolutely free. I do thank markets.com for sponsoring the show and make it possible for me to have all these broadcasters for you absolutely free. But get to today's show, it's all about the green energy. Now, this was the president's letter that he actually pointed out for today, where he say SA energy sector will be the first target in moving to a low carbon economy. Now, you still remember this story. This I actually had in September. Rich nations head to South Africa to secure a deal giving a future emission the coal shoulder. So it's basically where rich nations are basically now negotiating with South Africa to go now away from coal with all our power stations. You must remember, 90% of South Africa's power is still depending on coal, and that the rich nations came out and literally come and try and to persuade South Africa to actually now to move away from coal. I have actually more articles on it. The world's richest countries consider spending billions to move South Africa away from coal. Now, you must also remember, South Africa, or I would say Eskom, or basically all of us, are basically in debt with 400 billion just because of Eskom. Now, these rich nations came to South Africa to actually to wash away all this 400 billion debt and try to convince South Africa to go to a more greener energy. This is actually what this whole thing about. Now, there was also another story that was very interesting for me because I was scratching around it. Eskom faces 400 billion, where I just explained, hurdle as it targets 300,000 jobs in the green energy push. Now, the whole entire government, and I will not say the whole entire government, but a lot of the people in the government, because of the rich nations to put down plans in South Africa, wants to move South Africa away from the old coal system. Now, this was now a very interesting part from Gwede Mantashe. South Africa should not move away from coal, say Mantashe. Now, if you read that article, there was actually a lot of billions that was given by the rich nations for us to move away from coal so that we can actually go towards actually a greener energy. Now, Ted Bloom also said yesterday on a news broadcast, I'm sure you guys know about Ted Bloom, that basically South Africa or Eskom did not do maintenance for this year on this coal plants, or there were, but very little. It's not at wow, it's been done in every time and in every year it's supposed to be done. And now that says a lot. Now, also there was an article from the writer himself that actually stated here, the writer irritates that Eskom needs to adapt to the changing energy landscape. Now that we need to move away from coal and we need to move to a greener energy. So if you can see with this whole thing that I actually pointed out, everybody is talking in the direction of this whole entire green energy story. Now, this is all to do with the rich nations that came with billions and flushed us with money. And that's why there is basically next to nothing maintenance done on these power stations. There was also a story about Ted Bloom where he said 600 billion is used. It needs to be used to get all these old power stations and also new power stations up so that we can have efficient energy. The writer was making the assumption about 300 billion and said he will not spend it on these old power stations. He will rather actually go with the greener energy. So if you can put down the dots, and then you can see with all these articles that I just actually pushed out now, that the rich nations came with a lot of money, and where Gwede Mantashe needs to stand up to say, don't move so fast, wait and let the coal stations still run, fix that, and then we can go to a greener energy, if you can read that article. But it looks like he will not get listened because Eskom sits with about 400 billion that is of debt, and they need to get needs to get rid of that debt as well. So how things look for me is that we are basically forced to go to a greener energy. And for those guys who's actually still sitting with a truck that transport coal, or people that are dependent on mining and those type of things, a lot of you will be left behind because that is what the president also said last week in his speech. The South Africans or Africa will get left behind if they don't push this green energy agenda. Now, this comes with all the mess that is actually currently happening in Europe. I just don't understand where this green energy nonsense is coming from, because it failed drastically in Europe and also in Asia. China's whole entire grid is messed up with this whole green energy story. Europe is actually in not a currency crisis. They're actually in an energy crisis because the wind did not blow. Now, this is actually another article, and I did actually went over it. Risk of the UK power cuts this winter has increased, said the National Grid. Because they moved away from your old coal power stations and gas, they moved away there to go with the whole green idea, and now it backfires tremendously. Why would a third world country like South Africa take up this challenge to go green now? I think it's a plant that they want to push to go green. I think it's Komati, that they want to push to a green energy plant. If it didn't work in Europe, how the hell will it work in South Africa? The Europeans and the United States and Asia have oceans of money, where South Africa can't even pay off 400 billion of Eskom's debt. So where the hell will this actually work? Now, also with Asia, it's the same story that happens there, and they're approaching winter now. If you look, China energy crisis shows just how hard it will be to reach a net zero. Now, if it's hard for these countries to get to net zero, which is now on the carbon emission, where the hell does South Africa come up with this idea that we can do it? And we don't even have half the budget of what these people have. There's a comment that actually comes through here. In South Africa, we have a lot of sun, Calvinia, Apple, and Karoo. Not saying we should go green, but that would be a start to ease the pressure on coal. Now, we can, but not in a rush as what Mantashe was saying. You must still remember, South Africa still have coal for about 200 years. We can still have the coal running until basically we are getting now solid on this whole green initiative story, because it is new. It still needs to get tested. There's still human error that needs to go into it. So there will be trial and error, trial and error. And when there's an error, we need to have backup. And where the coal come in, where we can still run the coal if it doesn't work. We can't just go entirely off the grid. And I do agree in California, there's a lot of sun. Even in Port Elizabeth, there's a lot of wind that has been blowing there. So we can use that energy. I absolutely 100% agree with it. But you don't have to rush the whole entire thing just to be part of this global compact as what the president is putting it through. It is extremely dangerous. We already don't have energy. How the hell will we how the hell will we get to this whole green entire story? These guys are rushing everything, and a lot of people will be left behind. Thousands of jobs will get lost, not just in the trucking industry, transportation, the mining, and all of these things that will go around. Even at Eskom, people will lose jobs because they talk about 300,000 new jobs. We all know that the money will get stolen as well. So they need to budget at least 7 trillion because 5 trillion will get stolen. So there's too many risks for these things to happen in South Africa. And look where we are today again with load shedding. I actually need to put on batteries now on just to get the lights on so that I can have this podcast. I mean, if it goes on longer, it's dark city for me. It's just ridiculous how these guys just want to switch everything like this and try to push people in one direction. For a lot of people in these industries, whether it's mining, whether it's the trucking industry, especially when it comes to transporting of coal, it is really, I don't know, you will be definitely left behind, because these guys are literally find ways to force the world to move in one direction, or what the president is saying, a global compact story that they have. We still have to develop our roads, simple things. Get people off the bucket system. Those things are important. Simple things are important. Not simple things, but the bucket system that still needs to get removed in South Africa. Roads that still needs to get built. Housing that still needs to get sorted out. Those are things that need attention. Now they want to change to a global environment. Yeah, you know what? It just makes me bloody sick of how these guys are thinking. Maybe we are not rushing, but we started too late. I think so, obviously. But the thing is, these guys stole so much money over the years. You can't start anything, basically, because the money just disappeared. They tax us a carbon tax, which is supposed to go for a greener energy. Where's that money? Gone. We've been paying tax since, I think, 2014, when that law was pushed through, that we pay a carbon tax on every rand that we put into our cars. But where's that money? It's gone. It's absolutely gone. So it just won't work. I'm so serious. It will not work. We will sit with total blackouts. I'm sure now, by the end of the year, because it's supposed to be summer now, it's supposed to be warmer. We are not supposed to have an energy crisis now. It's supposed to be happy-go-lucky, but we have to worry about load shedding in the summer. Can you believe it? Where people use less energy, but now we need to worry about that. It is absolutely ridiculous of the amount of speed that these guys goes, and to rush everything like this. A lot of people will be left behind, and I hope you are not one of them. Get rather something in the fourth industrial revolution for yourself, whether it's building games or whether it's building something constructive that you need to do online business or something. But if you just go with your trucking business and mining, honestly, you will be wiped out first. Because these guys will go with no mercy, with enormous amount of speed to force us in a direction where we don't want to be. So please, people, get your rather Forex account or trading account and funding with $250 and get rather training, because honestly, with these guys shaping direction so quickly, it's really, really bad. I hope you guys enjoyed, and thanks a lot, Leroux. Rian really voted for it. Yeah, it's municipal elections. I think I must run for ward councillor or something. But thanks a lot for the comments. I really appreciate it. And thanks a lot for tuning in. Please don't forget to register on the Marcus.com account with $250 and subscribe to my YouTube page so that you can get our information. Thanks a lot for Marcus.com for sponsoring the show. That is it from my side. See you guys tomorrow at the same time. Bye-bye.